Up on Mountain News at 5:30, President Trump looks ahead to a critical year for diplomacy. We'll take a look at what's at stake on the 2026 international stage. And we'll tell you about a couple new laws taking effect in Tennessee.
And in the world of weather, it's been quiet today. Temperatures ranging from the 20s and 50s depending on your location, but a warm-up is coming soon. Details coming up.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Neely Green. 2025 was a critical year for international conflict and, in some cases, conflict resolution. President Donald Trump touted multiple wins, but there's still much to be addressed in the coming year. WYMT senior Nashville correspondent Peter Zampa looks ahead to what we can expect in 2026.
Foreign wars and international trade agreements and disagreements. 2025 set the stage for a high-stakes 2026 on the diplomatic front. President Donald Trump says he's ushering in a period of peace worldwide. However, war still rages in Europe, and that peace is fragile in the Middle East.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East.
President Trump announced a peace deal on the Gaza Strip in November, agreed to by the Israelis, Hamas, and the United Nations. Hostages were returned and bombing stopped in Gaza, which had already created a severe humanitarian crisis. The deal is set to go into a second phase that would usher in a period of disarmament and stabilization in Gaza. But with both sides alleging violations during the first phase and Hamas unwilling to lay down arms, the peace deal stands on shaky ground heading into 2026.
Well, I'm not concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan.
President Trump also pledged to end the war in Ukraine within hours of assuming the presidency. Almost a year later, the killing continues despite months of negotiation. The sticking points, security guarantees for Ukraine and land concessions to Russia, difficult final hurdles with no clear solution in sight.
There's that chance also. You know, it's possible it doesn't happen. Look, it's been a very difficult negotiation, very detailed. It's funny, I settled 8 wars. Some were going on for 35 years. And we got them settled in a couple of days. Some of them, one was going on for 37 years. I settled it in 1 day. But this is a very complex one.
From one full-blown conflict to a simmering one. Tensions between the United States and Venezuela rising as President Trump looks for Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, to leave office. The U.S. bolstering its presence in the Caribbean, carrying out strikes on alleged Venezuelan drug boats. The world waits to see whether President Trump takes the conflict from sea to land in 2026.
They charge us, we charge them.
Also much anticipated in the new year, how the U.S.-China relationship develops. With tariff back and forths early in 2025, President Trump maintains he has a good relationship with Chinese President Xi Jinping. But the announcement of a massive U.S. arms package headed to Taiwan late in the year brings more headwind into the turbulent relationship as the two leaders prepare for an in-person meeting next April. Now, to close out 2026 in international affairs, the U.S. will host the G20 summit in Miami. Now, President Trump skipped the 2025 event in South Africa, saying that white South Africans are being persecuted. Now, as of right now, President Trump has not extended a South African delegation an invitation to his golf club in Doral, where this year's event will be held. Reporting in New York, I'm Peter Zampa.
Yesterday, the House Judiciary Committee released a transcript and video of its closed-door hearing with former special counsel Jack Smith. The deposition happened in mid-December and lasted more than 8 hours. Lawmakers grilled Smith over 2 criminal investigations onto President Donald Trump. One was over the mishandling and retention of classified documents. The other centered on Trump's role in the attempting to overturn the 2020 election.
The decision to bring charges against President Trump was mine, but the basis for those charges rests entirely with President Trump and his actions, as alleged in the indictments returned by grand juries in 2 different districts.
Smith dropped both cases after Trump won the 2024 presidential election. One woman was killed in a crash in Boyd County. The crash happened this morning on Interstate 64 at around mile mark 185. Deputies say, according to police, they say a car went off the road before rolling over, leading to the driver being thrown out of it. The woman's name has not been released. A missing West Virginia woman was found dead in a hotel room in Boyd County. Officials say the woman was 63-year-old Cynthia Sue Hawley. According to the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office, no foul play is suspected. The Boyd County Sheriff's Office is handling the death investigation. At least 4 people were hurt following a shooting in South Carolina. Police were called to a home in the city of Anderson a little after 10 p.m. last night. According to police, one person was in critical condition while the other victims had injuries that were reportedly non-life-threatening. Police are still looking for a suspect in connection with the shooting. 5 people were killed on the last day of 2025 in another strike on an alleged drug trafficking boats. U.S. Southern Command struck 2 boats suspected of carrying drugs on Wednesday. It did not specify where it happened, but similar strikes have taken place in the Caribbean Sea and Pacific Ocean. This brings the total number of boats targeted by the military to at least 36. At least 115 people have been killed since September. Approximately 40 people were killed and around 115 others were injured after an explosion and fire at a bar in Switzerland. According to reports, at least 10 people had died in the incident. It happened at a ski resort of Crans, Montana in the southwestern part of the country. At one point, the area had been completely closed off and a no-fly zone was implemented over the area. Police say they're still trying to figure out what caused the blast. Russia has said at least 24 people were killed in what its foreign ministry described as a Ukrainian drone attack on a Russian-occupied part of southern Ukraine. The governor of the Russian-occupied part of the Kherson region said more than 50 people had been injured in the attack, which he said struck a hotel and cafe during a New Year's Eve celebration in the town of Korli on the Black Sea. Korli has been occupied by Russia since the days following its full-scale invasion in 2022. Well, viewers who are tired of this cold weather suggest we ship meteorologist Eric Dean off to Arizona where it's not cold. And I can think of quite a few places myself where I'd like to send them, but for now we're stuck with them here. Here's First Alert meteorologist Eric Dean with the latest forecast.
That's right, Neely. I know where I'd like to send you tomorrow. You won't have to worry about any type of snow or rain or cold temperatures because it's going to be in the 40s and 50s here. So take a look outside right now. Good job. Take a look outside right now. Upper 20s, low 30s over towards Logan as well as Jackson. Upper 30s near Hazard. 40s from Manchester over towards Monticello, Williamsburg. Jacksboro made it into the 50s earlier today, but you factor in that wind. There's a little bit of a bite in the air in some places. A couple places have a little bit of a wind chill. Manchester at 37, 34 in Pikeville, 32 in Louisa, 28 is the feels like temperature in Logan. Now, all is quiet right now on live pinpoint Doppler radar. You go just to the north. You see north of the banner there, right there, just to the east of Cincinnati, seeing a little bit of snow activity. That's just going to pass us. It's going to continue to push its way to the south and the southeast. We're going to stay quiet as we go throughout the evening and overnight hours. You can see as we take a look at the temperature trend, we'll stay in the upper 30s for the next few hours, going into the low 30s by the time 6 a.m. rolls around. Now we have temperatures in the upper 50s and low 60s making a comeback, and we have shower chances. Details on that coming up in the First Alert forecast in a few minutes. Neely.
Eric, thank you. State health officials are warning people about a measles exposure in northern Kentucky earlier this week. It comes as flu and other respiratory illnesses are on the rise. The measles exposure in Grant County happened at the Ark Encounter and a Holiday Inn in Dry Ridge. State officials say the out-of-state carrier was not vaccinated. There is no antiviral treatment for measles, and doctors say the disease can cause rare but serious lasting complications.
Encephalitis, brain swelling, pneumonia, sepsis, death. These are complications that can easily be avoided.
I want to emphasize the way to prevent all this from happening is vaccination.
State data shows 13 confirmed measles cases in Kentucky in 2025. During flu season, Dr. Jeff Fox says anyone with these symptoms should consider testing for measles. New DUI laws take effect in Tennessee today. This includes a new tool for law enforcement. It's called an oral fluid test. Officers will use a cotton swab to collect saliva. They can then test to see if a person had too much to drink or been using drugs. If the test comes back positive, police can use it in court to get a warrant for a blood draw. Advocates say this is a step in the right direction to prevent impaired driving.
Alcohol impaired driving is still the number one, issue that takes the most lives, causes the most crashes. But there's no doubt, I think everyone sort of sees an increase in the issue of drug driving.
The Tennessee Highway Safety Department is giving out these testing devices to 24 departments across the state. Another new law starting today focuses on SNAP benefits in Tennessee. SNAP will no longer cover certain sugary foods and drinks. That includes things like soda, energy drinks, candy, and desserts. Tennessee asked the federal government for permission to set the new limits. And coming up on Mountain News at 5:30. According to a new report, movie theaters in the U.S. and Canada saw some growth in ticket sales in 2025.
And in the world of weather, welcome to 2026. We'll break down the year that was 2025 coming up.